Okay, time to shed a new light on a thriving ecosystem. Lightning Network, yes, Lightning Landscape. We all love Lightning Landscape. Who's been in Lightning Network for more than 2 years? Raise your hands. More than 4 years? Okay. For the one who've been here for more than 4 years, can you actually sleep at night? Yeah, many things happen on Lightning Network, right? Look, we all love Lightning Network. But for example, even if you've been there for more than 4 years, did you know that we had more than 1,000 projects and companies that have been built since the inception of Lightning Network? 1,400. That's a pretty interesting number. Okay, I should probably take the microphone closer. Yeah, we all love Lightning Network, and we want Lightning Network to succeed as a payment layer, as a payment solution. But how do we go there? How do we go from here to, well, there? You know, the bright future where everyone basically in the world use Lightning Network. And not only in Salvador. Actually, we want this payment layer to be used all over the world. I'm sure that when you go back to your own country, when you try to orange peel your family, your friends, that's kind of a long journey. It takes time to explain this. So that's a kind of an interesting journey. And we believe that one of the reasons why it's harder is because we need visibility. Lightning Network deserves a lot more visibility, deserves a lot more exposure, because we've seen so many great projects that have been built on it, and which don't have basically enough visibility. So what we want basically to do is to move from an ecosystem to an industry. How do we do this? One of the solutions is to bring more money, to get more investors in the space. If we get more investors, we are going to get more companies. If we get more companies, they are going to create better services. Once we get the better services, guess what? We should expect to have more users as well. And if we have more users, well, the investors will see even more interest, so they will invest more money. So this is the kind of positive feedback that we expect. But how do we do this? Again, we need to have more visibility. Lightning Network is a wild beast. It's growing very, very fast. Launched in 2016, and 6 years later, as we said, we saw 1,400 different projects. So, but the problem is, and that was the question I was asking a bit earlier, you've been in the Lightning Network for 4 years. Can you actually keep track of what's happening on Lightning Network? Look at what's happening here. I mean, we've had so many different conferences, even this year, and within one very focused conference in El Salvador adopting Bitcoin, how many talks and presentations we have? That's pretty crazy. That's very healthy, but it's hard to keep track of it. So, how much is it growing? We have a few ideas. One of them, it's very common to look at the network capacity. That's one parameter. Yeah, that's great. That's already, well, a data point. Now, can we rely on this 100%? Yeah, it's a little bit harder. Why? For different reasons. First of all, we are talking about public nodes. How much Bitcoin are locked into private nodes? Question mark. First of all, how many private nodes do we have? Well, we don't even know that. So how much of the capacity is actually on the Lightning Network? We don't know. And yeah, that could be quite a problem. But as we said at the beginning, we want Lightning Network to succeed as a payment layer. But what are the competitors of those payment layers as of today? If you look at Visa, MasterCard, Amex, they provide a pretty good service if you look at this, to be completely frank. But I'm going to share with you just a few numbers here. Visa, in particular, was enabled $10 trillion transaction in 2021 only. 5,000 Bitcoin, how much does it represent? Less than 100 million as of today. So how do we get to this to this world where we can actually compete with also all the other companies and all the other existing companies such as Visa and MasterCard? Look, since there is absolutely no way for us to know the volume of transactions, then what we are doing is to try to look at it from a different angle. Now, in the past, we've seen different research reports that brought quite a lot of information. A year ago, precisely, there was a report from Arcan Research, and they brought this information through basically aggregated data from different players. So there was OpenNode, there was Bitrefill, if I remember correctly, there was also different wallets. And what they did basically was to aggregate all this information because the wallets shared this information. Okay? And we knew that what was the volume of transaction in El Salvador. However, whenever it comes to the total volume of transaction on Lightning Network, question mark. We don't know. If you look at one node specifically, we've seen reports from River Financial or Diamond Hands, very community focused. They give you quite a lot of information, but that's again about their node very specifically. How can we get this information from very different nodes? Yeah, that's very, very hard to get. So we are barely scratching the surface here. I don't know if you see this, but this is an iceberg. We are barely scratching the surface of what's happening on Lightning Network. And that's, in our opinion, a problem for the entire ecosystem. By the way, if you like the slides, they're not mine. I'm very bad at designing slides. So the guy behind it is John. So if you are as bad as I am on designing slides, you should rely on his services. You should hire him. Please don't hire me for slides. But yeah, Lightning design is private. So what we wanted to do basically is, since we cannot know the number of transactions, we said, okay, we are going to look at it from a different angle. And the angle we are using is the number of projects and companies that are building on the Lightning Network. We are not focusing on the gold rush, the amount of gold which is being produced. No, we are focusing on the pick and shovels. What are these companies? Who are they? What are they doing? So that's the reason why we joined forces with PeakShift. That's a problem that we had internally at Bold Observer because we were a bit frustrated because we're not able to keep track of what was happening. And we joined forces with PeakShift because they had this very similar problem. And we came up with Lightning Landscape. So that's the reason why we built Lightning Landscape. Lightning Landscape is a searchable data platform for projects, companies, and resources. So if you need anything about Lightning Network, this is where it should be. As of today, we have 1,400. We expect to get a lot more and release more in the coming weeks. And that's a lot more user-friendly. We have brought a lot more usability. And our intention is to make it as easy as possible for anyone who wants to get into the space to also get the right information. Now we made it searchable by category, by tag, by year, by license type, and that's a lot easier for a new user. Now I'm going to share with you a personal story. I worked as a consultant for several years in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and in 2018, 2019, I really wanted to work in Lightning Network specifically. And I said, where do I start? That was pretty hard for me to find the right information. And a good friend of mine, he's a Bitcoin OG in the US, told me, look, if you like to get a job there, you need to shake hands. You need to go to conferences. You need to meet people. And yeah, you will know from that point what you like and whether there is a fit or not. I said, okay. Then the COVID hit. Was not really the right time for the conferences, but I took that advice. And in 2021, I came here, traveled to El Salvador, and in the taxi from the airport to the conference, I actually had the same ride with the company founder of Bold Observer. Okay? So this is called serendipity, just meeting randomly people like this. But that's actually a very cool story of how you could also meet people and make the most of this kind of conferences. So the key message here, if you are new to the ecosystem, I think that's also a great starting point. Now I will give the mic to Jones. He will drive you through all the different use cases, and you're going to have a lot of fun.
Hello, hello. Yeah, so I don't think the slides were too good because, Yeah, you can really see that iceberg there. Yeah. Or at least you couldn't see the tip of the iceberg, but the part that you're not supposed to see, we actually saw it pretty good. So I need to work on that one. All right. So lightning landscape. As Alex said, it's a database of a bunch of projects and companies in the space. We got filters for like if it's like an open source project you want to look at. If you want to see if it's what kind of license type it has, even you'll be able to filter this, and whether it's wallets, communities, etc., etc. The database, it's a manual entry, and just as Second Light, I'm not sure if he's still here. Second Light with BTC Map is facing, it's a database that can't necessarily be maintained by us, right? It has to be a community thing. And as Alex said, visibility on what's happening in the ecosystem is super important. We need to get more capital in. They need to understand how big this industry is. Are we an industry yet? At what point do we go from ecosystem to industry as well, right? You know, maybe we could plot it on a graph or something, and then we could find out. We got a bunch of tags. These two tags are redundant, so we're gonna fix that one on the slides. But yeah, there's a bunch of different tags, and even these tags, we would kind of like need help curating them as well, right? So really the theme of this is we're putting a lot of work on you guys as a Bitcoin community, but it is important. There are some other data set, like some other kinds of filters that we would want to introduce in the future as well. For instance, when we start being able to collect some of the information on funding for companies, I don't know how many of you guys have started your own projects or starting your own companies. Maybe you would want to have a comparison of other companies in your sector, in your field, or similar to you, how much money they have raised. I think this could be super valuable for a first-time founder especially, or just other people in the community, journalists or whatever, who might be interested in putting together this data. Yeah, we got a little profile stuff, you know. Not every entry that you that you look at is going to have a full breadth of data points, so you'll be able to edit that. We have a little bug with that at the moment, but yeah, you can, if you find a Twitter or any other links, community links for the project, you can go in there and help us maintain this data set and keep it nice and fresh. Oh, start demo now. Okay, sure. How's this? Okay. Doo-doo-doo. Let's see. Let us start this demo. All right. Gonna try not to break my, okay, there you go. All right, there we go. This is the Lightning Landscape project. You can go to it right now. It's lightning-landscape.net. The entry page is just a list of the projects here. It's, guys, it's pretty simple, right? We're just trying to document that. Eventually, we might, we probably will allow like API access to this as well, so you could pull it in and create some of the visualizations and stuff for yourself. But yeah, this is the data set here. You just keep loading them in. We could pull up one. Let's see. Yeah, let's pull up Albi. Right there. You can see the different details you see here, created at, license type, programming language, last time it was updated, whether it's open source, and the link to the repository. We are also looking to pull in some Twitter data, I do believe as well, at some point. Maybe, we'll see. If you guys demand it, we'll do it. And if you find, if you have a project that you want to add to the database, you can just click here and fills out the Airtable, put up your logo, description and everything, and get added to the data set. That's pretty much it. Oh, the filters, yeah, this is cool. Yeah, we got a bunch of cool filters here. Clicky click. Oh, let me try one of them. So we could actually look at filters from like projects from 2016, right? We got a few of them there. I'm not sure how many. We need to put a count. Internet is a bit slow now. But yeah, you could go by year as well, so you could see how many projects have grown in the space or have been launched like across a time scale. I think that could be super interesting. And that's pretty much it on my end. Help us keep the database up to date. Help us, you can scan the QR. Oh, let me make this a little bigger. Yeah, help us keep the database up to date. Scan there. You can go to the site, lightning-landscape.net. Follow on Twitter, LNLandscape. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions? Oh, go on. Per project, we are tracking, we're not showing all of the data that we're not visualizing all of them yet, but we have things like GitHub details, right? So you saw the widget there for like how many stars and commits and stuff like that. We're going to be keeping a log of this data as well so we can track activity over time, like commits over time. Then we could use this kind of data to determine if like how active the project is. So that's another parameter of like activity.
Yeah, I was going to say activity is probably the most, what people would be the most interested in, that you can see instantly which are the projects that are generating all the activity. And also, like I came in a little bit later, so maybe you already addressed this, but is there a way to somehow extract transaction volume that has anything to do with that particular project? Because I think people would be very interested in seeing that, if that's possible.
So this is the iceberg part.
Yeah, okay.
So, right? It's like, yeah, we can see this part, which is like the social part of Bitcoin, right? The ecosystem of companies and projects being built, right? This part of transaction activity, that's like under the water.
Okay, that's exactly when I came in, so I should have probably come in 5 minutes before then. But yeah, if that doesn't exist, then anything else that can track activity, I think, would be a great thing to track.
Yeah, I mean, the activity, you can look at it from different angles. I mean, GitHub, the activity on GitHub repository is definitely one of them. Twitter is also one of them. Apps, in the case that you have apps, but the volume of transaction, this is definitely a space where we don't want to enter because, well, it's private. It's private. It belongs to the businesses, it belongs to the users. So yeah, we're not getting there, and I think it's contradicts also the privacy nature of Lightning Network initially.
Well, there's the difference between knowing who sent what and knowing overall how much was transacted, right?
Yeah, but we are not yet there anyway, so it's...
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, Mick?
Yeah, first of all, just learned about this the other day, so amazing job, really cool. It's a bit like BTC map, like mapping Bitcoin activity, not in meat space, but in cyberspace, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to him a bit earlier. I think it's very complementary because he's looking at shops, the adoption on the ground, local communities, meetups. This is not a strong point. We do have quite the communities, but we are focusing a lot more on the businesses, on the projects, on the resources as well. So two different animals.
Right. I was just going to mention in terms of the transactions, I kind of do agree that having a high-level picture could be useful for so many things, even for people to understand where is the, because at the end of the day, like financial transactions, what they are really is just the sign of value is being exchanged, and so be able to understand that there's value in this industry could be a very powerful indicator for other people to come in and say, okay, there's more to be done. So maybe just to add an idea, I don't know if it's that much. It's more like a high-level index, but even looking at just the amount of liquidity locked in channels for a particular, so if a company has a Lightning node, just looking at the Ambas data, and trying to, again, public data and taking, you can really look at the transaction data, but you can look at the amount of liquidity and stuff like that, and changing through time. Maybe that's one way of doing that at a high level.
Yeah, capacity, node capacity. Associate the nodes to to the business. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's definitely something that could have value, yes. Well, the idea is basically from now on, we expect to get some feedback from the community and how you would like to use it, how you're using it, how much projects have been submitted, and from that point, we'll be able to basically move on and make some adjustment for sure, yes. But yeah, thanks for the feedback for sure.
Yeah, that was something that we were discussing internally, like whether we should show that like node capacity thing, but like without people having like, because this is community generated and stuff, those companies or projects are not necessarily the ones who are like putting in this information. What we would then be doing is like associating some financial thing to someone, and maybe they don't like that, maybe we get it wrong. So that's like another thing that you have to think about. If a company opts in to do this, then maybe yeah, right? If it's public information that went out on like a press release, the amount of funds that the company raised or whatever, this is all public. Now, fair enough, it's just like a tricky territory when you say like, hey, this node is associated with Jim Bob or Jim Bob Co. But it's not. And you know, maybe that's an attack vector for that person or whatever. So we'll again, it's like if you guys want to make those associations and stuff, we can add those those additional data points. But yeah, so we started very basic for now, and hopefully the types of data that we get to store and track grows over time. Yeah, so it could be something quite robust.
Question here, as someone who's new to the Lightning Network, like this is an amazing resource, and appreciate you guys working on this. Now that you guys have sort of like a bird's eye view of the Lightning ecosystem, are there any use cases that both of you are like really excited about that you're seeing emerge? And yeah, just would love to hear your general thoughts on like patterns you're seeing in Lightning development in general.
Yeah, I think, you know, like when you start looking at the projects by year, and I think it would be cool to like visualize these by industries over, like over a timeline over years and stuff. You start seeing like, initially it was like very hardcore infrastructure stuff being built, right? And then as we go on year by year, different layers of abstractions and tooling. So we started to see like developer tools around 2019, 2020. Things like Galloy popped up. You remember what we were talking about yesterday? Things like Galloy. All these different APIs and stuff that people could then start using. Then now we're actually seeing even further abstractions on the application layer. We're seeing use cases being built on top of those APIs, LNURL, auth, Galloy, etc. People are building applications on top of them. So over time, you're seeing it go from low-level infrastructure to more abstract and more use case-based things, yes.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you very much, everybody.